That haunted house was closed for years. From Vinay's father to grandfather, everyone had seen it closed like that. It was popular that there were wandering spirits in that house. Not one but many. Be it day or night, no one would go near it out of fear. The state of fear was such that there was no house near it. The huge mansion-like house was now in a dilapidated condition. Once some drunkards had gone to that house to drink alcohol. One of them had gone mad, and the rest somehow ran out of it screaming to save their lives. Since then, the atmosphere of terror had become even more, but Vinay seemed to be the only person in the village who was not afraid of that closed house at all. Many times he felt like going inside that house to see what the reality was. Or maybe false stories have been added for no reason. He was very much in love with a girl from the same village, Soumya. She too loved a handsome young man like Vinay, but both of them used to meet each other secretly. Once Soumya's mother caught them sitting together. Since then the family members had started keeping a close watch on Soumya. They did not even let her go out alone. It was not that Vinay was not scolded. His parents had clearly told him that he would never meet Soumya again. Soumya's family now wanted to marry her and keep her away from Vinay forever. But where love resides, when has that heart been bound by the chains of the world? One day Vinay called Soumya and asked her to come out of the house in the dark of the night. He had found a place where no one would be able to see them. She shuddered on hearing the place he chose for their meeting, because in his eyes there was no better place for them to meet. Because out of fear no one would come to look for them there. Soumya did not want to go there, but she agreed on Vinay's insistence. Both of them reached the gate of that haunted house holding each other's hand. At that very moment, an ugly and scary witch was looking at them from the broken window of the room on the upper floor as if she would chew them to pieces as soon as she got a chance. She had held the finger of a little girl with one hand. The girl said, "Mother, will they both become our prey?" Instead of answering anything, that witch suddenly lifted the girl up and dug her sharp teeth into her neck. The girl's painful screams echoed there. These screams reached Vinay and Soumya's ears as they moved forward. Soumya said to Vinay tremblingly, "Death is waiting for us inside, Vinay. That we should return from here." The main gate of that haunted house was very big and made of iron. It had rusted and turned black. The lock on it had also broken, fallen somewhere and got lost a long time ago. He had gone. But even after so many years the gate was somehow hanging. Vinay pushed it a little and it opened. He entered inside holding Soumya's hand. The view inside was just like that of all haunted places. Bushes had grown all around and had become very tall. This place must have been a garden once. Vinay switched on the torch on his phone while moving ahead. And started moving ahead cautiously. Because there could be danger of snakes, scorpions, etc. here. Soumya's eyes were roaming here and there, taking stock of that scary place. There was silence all around. Both of them had reached the part of the house where the rooms were. There were at least 10 rooms. And there must have been at least 5 or 6 rooms on the upper floor too. There were only a few doors left. They were almost broken and hanging. Some were completely missing from one room. When Vinay pushed the broken door of one of the rooms and stepped inside, Soumya said in a scared tone, "This is not right, Vinay. I am not feeling anything right here. We should go back from here." Vinay held her hand and looked into her eyes and said, "Don't you trust me, Soumya?" She was speechless again, and holding his hand, she went inside. As soon as they reached inside, they felt a strong stench. Because no one had opened this house for years. That is why dampness and stench were felt everywhere. The plaster of the walls of this house, made of small bricks, had almost peeled off and fallen down. In place of the floor, there was broken and pitted ground. Every particle of the house was a witness to its desolation. Every room was full of spider webs and rats. Overall, that place looked so desolate and ominous that no one would like to come there. But what was Vinay thinking when he came here? This question was going round in Soumya's mind. She asked Vinay. If the villagers and family members had seen us meeting, what would they have done at the most? They would have beaten us, abused us. But here our life will be in danger. What kind of a man are you? The whole village trembles from the house it supports. You are the same. Her words remained incomplete. And instead a scream came out of her mouth. Vinay hugged her and asked what happened. There the shadow of an old man was staring at us. It has just disappeared. He said with trembling lips. There is nothing like that, Soumya, Vinay assured her, saying. It is your illusion. Whatever you think. That is what you will see. But Vinay's argument did not have much effect on her. Vinay said while making her sit on a broken bed. You want to know why I have brought you here? Then listen, our coming here is not meaningless and without purpose. When the time comes you will know everything. But right now we should stay here for some time and get lost in each other's love. Because there is no one here who could interfere in our love. After some time, Soumya and Vinay got so lost in each other that they did not even realize that they were in a scary place. They were so immersed in love that they did not see the scary scene which would have been enough to scare them. From the window of the room in which they were staying, an old woman who was quite scary was staring at both of them. In her weak-looking hands, she had a blood-stained gandasa. Whose blood she was licking with her long tongue. Just then a man who looked like an Englishman came from behind and caught her throat. She screamed. Soumya was shocked by her scream. Vinay had also heard this sound. Both of them ran in the direction of the sound. Seeing the scene there, Soumya screamed again. And she started shivering while hugging Vinay. Because the scene was like this. An English-like man was strangling the old woman who looked like a witch. The man's eyes were filled with anger. The axe fell from the old woman's hand. And at the same moment the man picked up the axe and cut off the old woman's neck. Vinay and Soumya ran away from there after seeing this gruesome scene. I really made a mistake by coming here. Now we will not stay here even for a moment. Run away. He ran outside with Soumya while shouting, but he was surprised when he could not find a way to go out. The same way they had entered. There was a web of paths laid out there. Which way to go from now, what to do, these questions were standing in front of them. Vinay was surprised whether this was a dream. He pinched his hand and felt the pain. That means this was reality. Not a bad dream. Is this a house or some talisman? He was still thinking about all this when the Englishman stood in front of them holding the old woman's severed head. In his other hand he had a blood-stained axe. And he was looking at them in a savage manner. Soumya was about to faint and fall when Vinay held her in his strong arms. In one of his hands he had a blood-stained axe. And in front of him was Vinay who was holding the unconscious Soumya in his arms. A wave of fear ran through his body. Death was dancing in front of him. He could not even run away with the unconscious Soumya. The very next moment the blood-stained axe of the savage Englishman swirled in the air. His target was Vinay and Soumya. But that axe could not even touch Vinay and Soumya. Because one hand had caught it in mid-air. This sudden incident surprised Vinay as well. He had no idea that someone could help them here as well. He looked at the person holding the axe. He shuddered for a moment. His face was half burnt. Long and crooked teeth from which blood was dripping. And the strangest thing was that the part below his waist was missing. His remaining body was waving in the air. He gave a jerk and the axe that was in the Englishman's hand slipped into his hand. The Englishman, who was looking dreadful till now, turned around and started running away from there like a wet cat in the very next moment. But this was not going to be so easy. The vampire started running away like a wet cat, but it was not going to be that easy. The vampire ruthlessly thrusted the axe into his back. With a sound of "Kotch," the axe penetrated more than halfway into his back. The Englishman fell down belching like a buffalo. And that place became red with blood. Seeing all this, Vinay had become numb. Everything was happening so fast in front of him that he was shocked and worried. Fear had taken over his mind and heart. He asked the vampire, "Who are you? And what do you want?" He replied in a hoarse voice. "Years ago I left my body and also left my worldly name. In this world of ghosts I am now called a vampire. I know that hundreds of questions are surging in your mind and heart. Like, who was that old woman? Why did this Englishman kill her so brutally? After this, why did I kill this Englishman and save you?" Vinay was surprised by his words. How does he know so much? "Hey, I have not saved you at all. Rather, I have removed my rival from the way. Who wanted to hunt my prey? My prey means both of you." He was speaking with a crooked smile. "I liked this girl at first sight. Exactly 2 days from today, on the dark night of Amavasya, I will taste her blood. And after freeing her from this worldly body, I will make her the queen of my heart." Vinay's heart was sinking because of her laughter. Every moment a new fear. Every moment a new enemy. His mind was buzzing. How dangerous were this devil's intentions towards Soumya? Thinking this, a sensation was running through Vinay's whole body. "Now I am leaving from here. But only for some time. But I will come again." Saying this, his half-incomplete body disappeared from there. Vinay quickly picked up Soumya's unconscious body in his lap and started looking for a way to get out of there. He could see black shadows waving. Whose eyes were burning like embers. Some were screaming. While some were laughing, some were also walking in a circle around him. Vinay kept moving forward with a pounding heart. But he could not think of any way to get out. While walking, he reached a big hall-like room, where there was some light. There were many pictures on the walls, which had become so dark now that it was very difficult to recognize the people present in them. The condition here seemed a little better than the other rooms. Surprised and worried, Vinay stayed there and started trying to bring Soumya back to consciousness. After some time of efforts, Soumya regained consciousness. As soon as she regained consciousness, fear was again dancing on her face. With great difficulty, Vinay calmed her down and told her the entire sequence of events after she fainted. Hearing which, she became even more scared. It had been only a short time since they had stayed there. That such sounds started coming in their ears as if many animals were growling together. Gradually these sounds were increasing. Soumya got scared and hugged Vinay. And screamed, "Let's go from here, Vinay. I am very scared." When Vinay looked up while holding Soumya, he trembled, but the black shadows were crawling and surrounding them. And these horrifying sounds were coming out of their mouths. That means another new danger. Was this a haunted house or a den of evil spirits? "What should I do?" Vinay muttered. Then he took a decision in his mind and ran out of that room holding Soumya's hand. He had just crossed that door and walked a few steps ahead of him when a man's dead body was lying in front of him, which was soaked in blood. And when Soumya saw his face closely, she jumped up as if she had received a 440-volt shock. Eyes widened with surprise, and a scream came out of her mouth, because the dead body lying in front of her was Vinay's dead body. Yes, this was the truth, and like a mad woman, she was looking at the dead body once and then at Vinay who was with him. Is Vinay really dead? Was he, then, the living man standing in front of her? Wasn't he Vinay? Soumya sat there holding her head, there were many shades of surprise on Soumya's face, the person she was with for so long. Is he not Vinay? Is Vinay really dead? But when and how did this happen? She turned towards Vinay after thinking something, and started staring at him with strange eyes. Tell me, who are you? And have you killed my Vinay? Saying this, she screamed and grabbed Vinay's neck. What is this madness, Soumya? I am your Vinay. Vinay said in irritation. This is some new conspiracy of the evil spirits here. We should not get trapped in their net. And find a way out. Come to your senses, don't go mad. This is not a house, but a maze. This is the stronghold of devils. If you are really my Vinay, then whose dead body is this? Which is lying in front of us? Which is exactly like you. Do you have any answer to this? Soumya asked again. Instead of answering, Vinay sat down near the corpse. And started observing it. Its face was exactly like Vinay's. Thinking something, Vinay moved his hand towards its face, and at that very moment, the corpse opened its eyes. Soumya screamed. Vinay also got scared seeing this scene and moved back a little. He started laughing after opening his eyes. It was a terrifying laugh like the devil's. Soumya and Vinay could not believe their eyes after seeing all this. Their mind was buzzing. After seeing this scene, then they heard the same wheezing sound which was of the vampire. There is no need to be surprised, this was just a deception, which I had left behind you to keep you entangled here. As just then you started racking your brains to escape from here. At that very moment it worked its magic. And you fell, laughing like a madman. The devil who called himself a vampire was in front of them again. Half-burnt face, blood dripping from long and crooked teeth. The part below the waist missing. All these things were enough to make him look scary. This whole affair was planned by this devil. They both were shocked to know this. The next moment when Vinay's eyes fell on the ground, he was shocked. That deception was no longer there. Rather it had disappeared from there. This is your Vinay girl. But only for a few moments. Because now you are my property. Only mine. As soon as the night of new moon comes, I will liberate this physical body of yours. Then we both will become one. Vinay roared for the first time. Enough of this hide and seek. You devil, listen carefully. You will not be able to touch Soumya as long as I am alive. Frightened Soumya was hiding behind Vinay. Just by looking at that devil a wave of fear ran through her body. That devil with a vulgar and ugly face laughed. Ha 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 ha. So what if I will not be able to touch her while you are alive? Even after your death. Saying this he raised his hand towards Vinay and made a gesture. Vinay went flying in the air and went up from the roof. It collided. Colorful stars danced in front of her eyes, and screams came out of her mouth. Soumya was shocked to see this scene. She started crying out of fear. But devils don't have a heart that melts on someone's crying. Vinay's body was repeatedly swaying here and there and hitting the walls. And painful screams were coming out of his mouth. Soumya could not bear this horrifying scene for long. Let me scream, she started. Stop this brutality. Kill me. But leaving Vinay, her words had an immediate effect. And Vinay's body swayed and fell on the ground. But now it did not seem that he had enough strength left to even stand on his legs. The vampire said with a smile, a demon will always commit atrocity, and what else does he like? Okay. I will not kill your love, rather I will give someone else a chance to kill it. Now it will have to suffer the punishment for intruding into this haunted house. Come on, now I will start the arrangements to bring you to your end, someone else will decide its fate. With this, Dark shadows started hovering around Soumya. And her body, trapped in their grip, started disappearing from there. Vinay, save me. She was screaming and crying. Vinay was trying to get up. His body was covered in blood. But no courage. He took the name of his Ishtadev and ran away. He stood on the steps. If he didn't know that right behind him a scary witch was appearing with a child's severed head in her hand. In her other hand was a blood-stained sword. Her target was Vinay, who was completely unaware of her presence there. His restless eyes were searching for Soumya, who was no longer visible there. Along with her scream, she too seemed to have vanished somewhere. The robbed Vinay was standing there, confused and troubled. Vinay was standing there. At that very moment the witch standing behind him turned her sword hand to attack Vinay. Sometimes evil becomes so dominant that it seems as if it will win. But it is not known when a slow flame of goodness can flare up and turn into a blazing fire and burn down the empire of evil. The same thing was happening with Vinay and Soumya. Knowingly or unknowingly, when they went to that haunted house, it was as if a mountain of troubles fell upon them. This time both of them had become helpless after struggling in the claws of sin and evil. Now the thing to be seen was whether evil will come to an end, or will truth bow down to its knees. The witch who was behind Vinay attacked him with full force with her sword. Unaware of the danger, a flash of lightning flashed on Vinay's hand. And with a scream, a fountain of blood flowed out. And he fell on the ground like a cut tree. The witch waved her hand in the air to attack again. Then in between she said, "Get up, vampire. Just stop. Such an easy death is not in his fate. Leave him in this condition to die in agony. It will be fun when he will flutter like a bird with clipped wings." As soon as the vampire ordered, the witch vanished into the air. Vinay's eyes were getting dark while he was trying to stop the blood flowing from his hand. He was feeling himself getting into the lap of unconsciousness. The laughing vampire had also disappeared from there. When he opened his eyes, he found himself present in a dark tunnel. There was so much darkness. It was so dark that you couldn't even see your hand. Vinay was surprised how he reached here. When after some time his eyes got used to seeing a little, he slowly started moving in one direction that he didn't know where he was going. He didn't know that this tunnel was going towards that haunted palace. Or was she going away from him? No one knew whether there was a new golden ray of hope ahead, or a new danger. Shocked and screaming and trembling with fear, Soumya was tied in chains in front of a statue of a terrifying devil. The bonds were so strong that she was unable to free herself even if she wanted to. Seeing her writhing like this, the vampire laughed. "Soon you will be freed from this struggle. Tomorrow, as soon as the dark night of Amavasya comes, I will offer your blood to the devil god. Then you will become my queen. Just a short time of imprisonment, and after that freedom. Freedom from this lifelike trap forever." Soumya's heart was trembling with his laughter. He was also worried about Vinay. After walking in that tunnel for about an hour, Vinay saw a faint ray of light that he kept moving in that direction. His legs were getting tired. His whole body was aching. But still he did not lose courage. After walking for some time, he crossed that dark tunnel and was standing in the midst of lush green trees. A hill was visible at a distance. He was thinking where he had reached. Then he saw a man who used to... Vinay spoke for the first time. "Tunnel of death. Yes, brother, tunnel of death." That man spoke. "It is said that whoever goes in that tunnel, his dead body is never found again. It is famous in the mountains here that near the other end of this tunnel there is a haunted palace, where there is a complete empire of man-eating spirits. That is why no person from our village and its surroundings comes near that tunnel of death even by mistake. Monk Bharavnath has clearly forbidden to go there. Vinay mumbled. Monk Bharavnath, who is he? Where does he live? He is an enlightened monk. There, on the hill in front, the temple is visible. He lives there. That man showed Vinay a new path. He thanked that man a lot and started walking towards the hill in front in search of Monk Bharavnath. After going a little further, he saw a footpath. Vinay started walking on it. There were tall trees on both sides of the trail. At some places monkeys were also visible on the trees. After about half an hour of difficult climbing he had reached near the temple, but Vinay's eyes were searching for the one who was called Bharavnath. Finally, on asking a monk, he asked Vinay to come with him. There was a small cave near the temple. That was the abode of Bharavnath. That monk with a big beard and absolutely white hair must have been more than 70 years old. Vinay folded his hands and bowed down and told him his story and asked for his help. The monk closed his eyes and opened them after remaining in the same posture for a long time. The problem is very serious, son, Bharavnath said. You are fighting with black powers, those black powers which have been camping in that house for years. With time his powers have also increased immensely. He rules over those spirits. He calls himself a vampire. But that is not his real name. Before his death he was known as Thakur Jvalant Singh. At that time the country was ruled by the British, and he used to commit new atrocities on the people in connivance with the British. His job was to collect tax from the nearby villages, which his men used to collect ruthlessly. Whoever could not pay the tax, his land was usurped. He was friends with an English officer, Albert, who often used to visit his house, which was like a magnificent palace at that time. Jvalant Singh was cruel and ruthless and also knew black magic. In one room of the mansion he had installed a huge stone idol of the devil god, which is still present there. Albert was also very fond of learning tantra mantras, so he was also learning black magic. During this time the English officer Albert developed a relationship with Jvalant Singh's wife Ratna, and from here began the story of destruction which destroyed everything. Actually, one day when Ratna and Albert were in an objectionable condition, so Jvalant Singh's 8-year-old daughter Samita saw them, and she went and told all this to Jvalant Singh's old mother Sharanda Devi. Jvalant Singh was not present at the mansion at that time when the matter escalated. Albert beheaded Sharanda Devi with an axe and Ratna killed her own daughter, and both ran away from there. Later Jvalant Singh caught both of them and brought them back to the mansion, and with the same axe he killed Ratna and Albert. Being a high-ranking officer in the English army, a terrible revenge was taken for Albert's murder. The English army did such a massacre in the mansion that everyone was shocked to see it. Jvalant Singh was killed along with his family. Even his men and servants were not spared. At least 100 people were killed in the mansion at once. After that day that mansion became desolate and deserted. Jvalant Singh and hundreds of souls are still camping there. Jvalant Singh was an expert in black magic. That is why even after death he is ruling over the souls. Even today Jvalant's mother Saranda is seen dying at the hands of Albert, and Ratna is seen killing her little daughter. Sometimes Albert is seen dying at the hands of Jvalant Singh vampire. All the scenes were flashing before Vinay's eyes. When he and Soumya came to the haunted mansion, in front of their eyes, an Englishman, who was Albert himself, beheaded an old woman with an axe. The old woman was Saranda Devi. Then the vampire killed the Englishman with the same axe. Now the mystery of those scary and mysterious murders was solved. There must be some way to overcome that devil, Vinay asked Bharavnath. Instead of saying anything, he took him to temple. He took his trident and handed it over to Vinay and said, "The black magic of the vampire will not stand before this trident. You have to reach there before the new moon night, otherwise he will sacrifice the girl to the devil. You have to destroy their black world. Your goal will not be so easy. That is why my beloved disciple Hanuman will also go with you." After that, he gave Hanuman the enchanted water and an ancient book and explained that in this book there are such mantras which when recited will end all the troubles like ghosts and spirits. They had to reach the haunted mansion before nightfall, so they left from there quickly. Both of them moved towards their destination through the dark tunnel. The tunnel ended in a room of the haunted mansion. As soon as they reached that room, both of them started moving forward cautiously. Hanuman had that book in his hand and a bottle of sanctified water in his pocket. Vinay had kept Lord Trident with him. Just then he came in front of them screaming ugly and scary joke that she pounced very fast to tear the dandelion with her lance teeth and sharp nails. At that very moment Hanuman sprinkled the sanctified water on them. Their screams echoed and they started circling here and there. Hanuman was moving towards them reciting the mantras written in the book in a loud voice, and the witches fell on the ground screaming. At the same moment Vinay attacked them with his trident and both of them disappeared, turning into black smoke. They had got their first success, and filled with excitement they both started roaming here and there in search of Soumya. On the way they showed the way to hell to many ghosts and witches. Then Vinay saw Soumya running towards him. Vinay started crying seeing her condition, but he was happy in his heart that Soumya was safe. He kept the trident aside and spread his arms towards Soumya. Seeing this, Hanuman shouted, "Stop, this is a trick." But by then Vinay had hugged Soumya. At that very moment, careless Hanuman was hit from behind and he fell away. This book also fell from his hands. Instead of Soumya, a witch was seen who had grabbed Vinay. The situation had changed in a moment. The one who had hit Hanuman was a dreaded ghost, whose eyes were like embers. He was at least 8 feet tall and he had also grabbed Hanuman from behind, and their bond was strong. Hanuman was feeling suffocated. It seemed that both of them were going to die suddenly. Then a white shadow appeared there, picked up the witch and threw her against the wall. Meanwhile Vinay picked up the trident and stabbed it in the witch's head. There was a flash of light and she disappeared. The next target was the ghost who had held Hanuman. Vinay killed him with a single blow of the trident. Now both of them were free again. The one who helped them was Manohar, whom the vampire had once killed with his own hands. Even after death, he was in the vampire's captivity. But somehow he was freed. And he was the one who took Vinay to that tunnel. And today for the second time she had saved Vinay and Hanuman's life. Vinay thanked her, and asked for help in finding Soumya. Then she asked both of them to come with her. Some stairs went down from a hall. The three of them went ahead after getting down from there. After walking some distance they saw a statue of a big devil in front of which Soumya was made to sit on her knees. The devil was mumbling something with his eyes closed. He had a bloody axe in his hands, with which he was going to sacrifice Soumya to the devil. Many black devilish shadows were hovering there. Seeing this scene Vinay hissed in anger, "Wait, evil one, I have come to punish you for your heinous deed." Hearing her voice he opened his eyes and turned towards them with his half-covered body. "Punishment is given to living humans, child, not to devils like me. It is a big mistake to come here again. You did that. Now I will kill you and make you my slave. Open your eyes and see what I have in my hands. This holy trident will throw you into the fire of hell. Take my attack." But before he could target the vampire, his ghost army surrounded both of them. But in front of the power of the trident and the holy water, they all flew away screaming and shouting like smoke. Seeing this, the vampire caught Soumya in panic and started running away from there. Just then Hanuman opened some pages of the ancient book and started chanting some mantras. The vampire got restless with the chanting of those mantras and he left Soumya. She ran and hugged Vinay. At the same time, the screaming vampire dug his sharp teeth into Vinay's body from behind. Vinay screamed. And once again the trident fell away from his hands, but this time Hanuman was shocked. He sprinkled the enchanted water on the vampire with a spit. The screams of the vampire echoed. Vinay picked up the trident at that very moment and thrust it into the vampire's eyes. The vampire started screaming. A bright flash of light arose and the vampire turned into black smoke and disappeared. With his death, it was as if an earthquake had come from the dilapidated building of that haunted house. Vinay, Soumya and Hanuman ran out of there. Before running away, the sanctified water was sprinkled at many places in the house so that all the souls could get freedom. With the death of the vampire, all the souls also got free. After coming out, the three of them reached Vinay's village. The villagers were also now freed from the fear of the haunted house. Hanuman left from there because his work was over. After some time, Vinay and Soumya's family happily got them married. Evil was destroyed and goodness won once again.
Please like and subscribe for more terrifying tales.